Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, or THCF, and our affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, or CRRH. That's THCF and CRRH. We have another exciting show for you tonight. Mr. Tim Pate is here. Howdy, Tim.
Hey, folks. Hey, Paul.
And we'll be taking your phone calls and questions about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring industrial hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients in just a few moments. We have a new hemp news segment for you tonight, some new news in politics and medicine. We also have some film clips we'll be running. So just stay tuned as we bring out our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves. All right, welcome to Hemp News. D.C. lawmakers debate authorizing a new medical marijuana dispensary program. From Washington, D.C. this week, the District of Columbia City Council members held their first hearings on Thursday regarding legislation to authorize the legal use and distribution of medical marijuana. Members of the District of Columbia City Council Committee on Health and Public Safety jointly heard public testimony regarding B 18622, the Legalization of Marijuana for Medical Treatment Initiative Amendment Act of 2010, which seeks to allow for the license, production, and distribution of cannabis to authorized patients. The measure would implement components of Initiative 59, a 1998 District of Columbia ballot measure that garnered 69% of the vote. However, until this year, the District of Columbia city lawmakers have been barred from instituting the measure because of a congressional ban on the issue. Congress lifted its ban late last year. Testifying before the committee, our spokesperson, Normal Executive Director Alan St. Pierre said, quote, "The goals of Initiative 59 were threefold: to provide physicians with legal authority to recommend marijuana as a therapy to those patients for whom they believed would benefit from its medical use. Second, to legally protect patients who use marijuana under a doctor's supervision from criminal arrest and prosecution, and to provide patients with legal, safe, affordable, above-ground access to medical marijuana." We commend the efforts of the D.C. City Council to implement safe and reasonable medical marijuana regulations. These efforts must not run contrary to the intentions of Initiative 59 in 1998, as unambiguously expressed by 69% of the District of Columbia's voters, end quote. The district's council members stated that the measure would likely be passed by May of this year. If approved by the council, Congress has 30 days to either approve or reject the measure. Our next study is from Sacramento, our next story. It's a story about studies. The gold standard studies out there show that inhaled marijuana is medically safe and effective. From Sacramento, the results of a series of randomized, placebo-controlled clinical trials assessing the efficacy of inhaled marijuana consistently show that cannabis holds therapeutic value comparable to conventional medications, according to the findings of a 24-page report issued this Wednesday to California State Legislature by the California Center for Medicinal Cannabis Research, or the CMCR. 4 of the 5 placebo-controlled trials demonstrated that marijuana significantly alleviated neuropathy, a difficult-to-treat type of pain resulting from nerve damage. Dr. Igor Grant, the director of the CMCR, said at a news conference at the state capitol, quote, "There's good evidence to show that cannabinoids, the active compounds in the marijuana plant, may be either an adjunct or a first-line treatment for neuropathy." He added, end quote, he added that the efficacy of smoked marijuana was, quote, "very consistent," end quote, and that its pain-relieving effects were quote, comparable to the better existing treatments presently available by prescription, end quote. A fifth study showed that smoked cannabis reduced the spasticity associated with multiple sclerosis. A separate study conducted by the CMCR established that vaporized cannabis, a process that heats cannabis to a temperature where the active cannabinoid vapors form, but below the point of combustion, is a safe and effective delivery mode for patients who desire the rapid onset of the action associated with inhalation while avoiding the respiratory risks of smoking. 2 additional clinical trials remain ongoing. The CMCR program was founded in 2000, about 10 years ago, following an $8.7 million appropriation from the California State Legislature. The studies are some of the first placebo-controlled clinical trials to assess the safety and efficacy of inhaled cannabis as a medicine to take place in over 2 decades. The placebo-controlled clinical crossover trials are considered to be the gold standard method for assessing the efficacy of drugs under the U.S. FDA approval process. According to California Senator John Vasconcellos, who sponsored the legislation in 1999 to launch the CMCR, he said, quote, these scientists created an unparalleled program of systematic research focused on science-based answers rather than political or social beliefs, end quote. Vasconcellos called the study's design state-of-the-art and suggested that the CMCR's findings ought to settle the issue of whether or not medical marijuana is a safe and effective medical treatment for patients. California Democrat Mark Lino at the same press conference said, quote, this report confirms all the anecdotal evidence how lives have been saved and pain has been eased. Now we have the science to prove it, end quote. The full text of the CMCR's report to the California legislature is available online at www.cmcr.ucsd.edu. Again, grab your pencils. That's www.cmcr.ucsd.edu. Okay, our last story here tonight is from Herth, Germany. Over 2,500 subjects since 2005 have used marijuana-based medicines in controlled clinical studies. Researchers worldwide have performed 37 separate clinical trials assessing the therapeutic safety and efficacy of inhaled cannabis and marijuana-based medicines since 2005, according to a review published online last week in the journal Cannabinoids, the Journal of International Association for Cannabinoid Medicines, or IACM. Investigators from Leiden University in the Netherlands and the Nova Institute in Germany conducted a systematic review of recent clinical trial data pertaining to the medical use of whole smoked marijuana and cannabinoids. The authors identified 37 controlled studies since 2005 evaluating the therapeutic effects of cannabinoids. The trials involved a total of 2,563 subjects. Of the 37 clinical trials that have been recently conducted, 11 assessed the drug's impact on chronic neuropathic pain, a difficult-to-treat type of pain resulting from nerve damage. Other studies assessed the efficacy of cannabinoids to treat multiple sclerosis-associated spasticity. There were 9 separate studies on that. There were 4 studies on HIV/AIDS and 4 on experimental pain, 2 on intestinal dysfunctions, 2 on nausea, vomiting, and appetite, 2 on schizophrenia, 1 study on glaucoma, and 1 study on other indications for cannabis. The authors concluded, quote, based on the clinical results, cannabinoids present an interesting therapeutic potential, mainly as analgesics in chronic neuropathic pain, appetite stimulants, and debilitating diseases such as cancer and AIDS, as well as in the treatment of multiple sclerosis, end quote. And that's the end of our HIP news for tonight. And the full text of that study, which is called The Review of Clinical Studies with Cannabis and Cannabinoids, is available online at www.cannabis.med.org. Okay, Tim, how are you doing?
I'm good, Paul. And you?
Very well. I started my day. I had a 7 a.m. Eastern Time flight out of Detroit.
I knew it was early when you tried to reach me this morning.
Yeah. I realized once I called, I thought, uh-oh. I was in Chicago at that point. Thought, oh, that's too early to be calling.
Yeah, and then when I tried to call you back, I figured, oh, no, he's on a plane now. So,
yeah,
we didn't reach each
was.
other yet. So, hello.
Howdy.
Howdy. Let's make some music.
We got to gear up for that big John Trudell tour. We got to line up all those venues.
We've got some work to do, and we've got some money to raise for the Octa 2010.
We do indeed.
It's coming on us, and we've got some very exciting things that we'll be ready to announce pretty soon, I'm sure. I'm certain of it.
Indeed.
It's one of the rainy, cloudy, cold evenings here in Portland, Oregon, so I'm going to play a little blues to figure out.
It's been rained and snowed on lately.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And most of the country is too tonight. I can see that by the weatherman, so let's just get in some of this.
All right.
Thank you. Little
Mr. Tim
blues
Pate.
for your Friday night.
Hey, I want to welcome you to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We will be taking your calls tonight about ending adult marijuana prohibition, restoring hemp, and helping medical marijuana patients. So give us a call at 503-288-4448. And we have a caller now. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Hello, Paul, Tim. How are
Welcome.
you?
Good evening.
Very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing very good. My sativa and indica mix, and I watch your show every Friday.
All right. All right.
Well, we welcome you and your indica sativa mix.
So I have a three-part question for you, beginning with, can you briefly explain the difference and the classifications of the cards? And can you elaborate on, are they going to start taxing our medical gardens? And how would the average Joe get the medical card for the $20 if he meets the criteria versus the $180 or $120 at the other places?
Good
Please.
question.
Okay. Yeah, now there's a fee out there that I'll answer them in the reverse order. First one, the fee that the state charges most people is $100. And so the state fee, though, for people who are on Medicaid, SSI,
Food stamps.
think food stamps now, they just added food stamp a couple of years ago, is $20. So to get the $20 fee at the state, you have to show proof that you qualify for one of those programs. SSI, the Oregon Health Plan is another one, Medicaid, or food stamps. So that's the way to get that. And in terms of the individual clinics out there, I can't speak for all of them, but I can say that THCF's has a sliding scale. If you think you qualify, be sure to bring in some proof of your income when you come in. But next question, the three types of, well, what was the middle one? What was the middle one?
The middle one was, are they going to start taxing our gardens?
Oh, no,
you go.
definitely not. There's not going to be any tax on your gardens. You know, we have a proposal. There are two initiatives out there, and one of them would set up dispensaries where people could buy, with a medical marijuana permit, could buy marijuana at the dispensaries. A group called Voter Power has been pushing that petition. It looks like they're going to qualify. Our organization, CRRH, has teamed up with Oregon Normal to form a political committee called Oregonians for Cannabis Reform, and we have a bill out there that would allow anyone to grow their own without a license. So medical patients wouldn't need a license, neither would any other adult. And there would be no tax on marijuana unless you wanted to sell it. If you wanted to sell it, then you'd have to sell it through the state system where it would be provided to patients at the farmer's cost. So the patients would actually get subsidized cannabis. There wouldn't be any cost in processing it or packaging it or delivering it. They'd get it at farmer's cost, and that would be subsidized by adults paying a market rate that I think would be considerably less than what its fetches on the black market today. So regardless of whether we get the status quo and nothing changes, or the dispensary initiative passes, or OCTA passes, or both of them pass, there won't be any tax on medical marijuana patients growing their own garden. And there won't be any tax on anyone growing their own garden at all. And there would only be a tax for people who wanted to sell it and make a profit. And so then the other one, the three types of cards under Oregon's system, there are three cards that are issued. One of them is a patient card, and that's the qualifying patient gets that card, and they're entitled to use cannabis and possess and grow it. There are two other kinds of cards, the grower card and the caregiver card, that the Oregon State Health Department issues based on the directions of the patient. The patient decides if they're going to name someone else as a grower or someone else as a caregiver. And in both cases, those people can also possess the amount of marijuana jointly for the patient. That's 24 plants, 6 of which aren't limited in size and can be budding, and 24 ounces of marijuana. But only the patient can legally consume it under Oregon's law. Montana is the only state where caregivers are allowed to consume cannabis in addition to the patient. Did that answer everything?
I think you did.
I
hope
sure
so.
did, effectively and thoroughly.
I think you did.
Okay, great. I'm glad we could help. Anything else?
Not tonight. Just
All
thanks
right.
for your
Well,
time.
thanks for your question. A couple of good ones there. Hopefully that illuminated the program for a bunch of people out there. If you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448.
Now, you made inroads into Rhode Island this week.
That's right. I went to Rhode Island for the first time. I gave a little talk on Tuesday night in Providence to the Rhode Island Patient Advocacy Coalition.
Right on.
And Rhode Island has an interesting program, and the legislature has just licensed, or about to license, 3 legal dispensaries
That's
in the
what they're
state.
doing there, yeah.
And so they're taking applications sometime in the next few weeks. They'll start taking applications. Then the state will license these 3 dispensaries to offer cannabis to patients. And so there'll be Rhode Island-based nonprofits, and they will legally grow it. I don't know how long it'll take them to get up to speed.
Exactly,
That's
and
one
what
thing.
prices they're going to charge too.
Exactly.
To the
I
patients
think,
once they do it. Yeah, that'll be interesting to find that out.
Definitely will. We'll have to see how that works out.
But you were also in Detroit?
I was in Detroit. We've had an office in Detroit for about a year and a half now.
Mm-hmm.
So, we saw patients in Detroit and Saginaw and Flint and Grand Rapids and Kalamazoo this week.
Oh, my word.
Just in Michigan alone.
That's a lot.
We were in Bend today along with Portland, and gosh, it's just happening all over the place. What can I say?
Well, there's a lot of sick people out there who need help.
That's right. If you're out there and you need help finding a doctor who can help you get a medical marijuana permit, we have doctors all across the country who'll be happy to help. At toll free, you can call anywhere in the United States, 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Or if you're here in the Portland area, just call us locally at 503-235-4606. We have another caller. Hi, caller. You're on our show.
Yeah, I'm one of those that wish I could do more for you guys for all you've done to make it better for us.
Thanks.
Well, thank you.
I know there's a cafe in Portland,
Yes.
Uh-huh.
and it, I'm not the kind of guy who can just go out and get there and use everybody else, and I want to make a donation to them.
Gotcha.
Well,
And I think they'd like what they see.
I'm sure they would. In
they
fact, they're
appreciate
requesting
those.
donations.
Is there a possibility that maybe they have employees or what's that they could come pick it up?
just you stand by on the phone, and
Pardon, I didn't hear
the
that.
lady who answered your call
Yeah?
will take your call again and take that information and pass that right along.
Okay, can I get the phone number for that cafe?
I don't think they have a phone number.
I don't either.
Yeah, I don't think
I've
they.
been surfing the web and can't come up with zero.
Yeah, they don't have a phone number. I know Oregon Normal has a phone number. Do we have it there in
I'll
the
figure out.
graphics? Looks like we might have a graphic problem. I don't see any graphics coming up there. But
I got
gee.
one other small question.
Go ahead. I'll look for that normal number.
On as in soil, the use of the medium.
Mm-hmm.
I went through 4, 5, 6 different kinds, and I finally came up with one that was called Fox Farm.
Oh, yeah, I've heard
yes.
good things about the Fox Farm mixes.
Do you recommend any?
Yeah, those are good ones. They have some
Okay.
fish emulsions, and it's all organic is my understanding. I think it's a good one.
Okay. I appreciate you guys being there for us.
You
Hey,
bet.
well, I'm happy to do it.
No,
If I can find that number, maybe.
That's
Here it is.
interesting.
I've got it.
There's the number.
The Oregon
way.
Normal number is...
No way. Hang on. Okay, I'm writing it.
Grab your pen and
Excuse me?
pencils out there. They have a meeting tomorrow.
Yes, I'm glad
They
you
have a
brought that
meeting
up.
at the 700 Northeast Decombe Street, where they'll be giving away free medicine, so I'm sure they'd like to get some to give away. And that's going to be opening up at about 10:30. I think the doors close by 11:30. You don't want to be any later than that. And you have to be an Oregon Normal member and have an Oregon medical marijuana permit. They won't allow you in
I
if you...
get you. Just like life, you gotta have driver's license and insurance.
Bingo.
Yep, just like that. So you ready for that number?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can come back up again. Okay, 503
Yep.
239
Mhm.
6110.
Wow.
There you go.
503 239 6110.
Okay.
So give them a
Okay.
call and be happy to help, I'm sure.
Now I can get off and.
All right, thank you.
You're amazing, you guys.
Oh,
Well,
you-
I
thank you.
appreciate your help.
Absolutely
That's a great
amazing.
thing.
I mean, I can't believe it. I'll see you later.
Yep.
All right, keep watching.
Yep.
We'll be here.
Despite the fact that I've got spring crocuses all over the yard right now, and daffodils are popping up, it is still a little too early to start putting your outdoor out.
No,
So,
I wouldn't
Don't
hazard
even
that.
consider it not for another month and a half or 2 months.
Well, the thing
2.5
about it
months,
is,
maybe.
if you put your outdoor out now, the light cycle is less than 12
yeah,
hours, so it's
exactly.
going to start flowering.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to wait until the light cycle is 13 or 14 hours
There you
long,
go.
so they don't start flowering.
And that's really
So that's
not
like
until
April.
Yeah.
Mid to late April.
Mid to late April.
And
so.
then you get enough light to maintain a vegetative growth cycle.
I would
so-
imagine too that the soil temperature would help a lot. If the soil temperature was up a little, it's not
That's
quite
true.
up there yet.
That's true. It doesn't hurt for that to be a little higher. I know. I'm not sure exactly how warm it needs to be.
Varies from plant to plant, but
Yeah,
I'm
time to
certain
time.
that marijuana likes it a little bit warmer than a crocus.
Yep. Yeah, it's neat to see things growing out there. You just wonder what's going to happen when the frost hits.
Exactly.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi.
Hey.
Howdy.
I was wondering if you could explain to me about Marinol, and if you take a drug test, will Marinol show the same chemicals as
Marijuana.
THC?
Yeah.
Yes.
Marinol is synthetic THC, and it's not distinguishable from plant-based THC. Now, some tests and very expensive tests that cost more than $800 can test for other cannabinoids in addition to THC metabolites. A drug test typically on marijuana is simply looking for metabolites of THC, and those can stay in your system more than a week, and if you're a heavy user, as long as 30 to 60 days. And so Marinol does show up exactly the same as a THC metabolite. Some more expensive tests look for other cannabinoids, but those tests aren't typically carried out. Like I said, they cost a lot of money, and they don't really generally employ the expensive tests.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, a lot of people who have jobs and medical marijuana permits need Marinol,
Right.
so they can, be able to remain employed.
And that's a travesty, because those
It
are the
is,
most
it is.
expensive things on the market.
They're very, very
incredibly
expensive. The smallest ones are like $10 a pill
Yeah.
for the 2.5 milligrams, and the 10 milligram pills are $30 or so. And if you've got nausea and you're trying to keep down $30 pills, it can add up very, very quickly.
Yes,
I've heard
it
of
can.
some patients whose Marinol bills was $3,000 or $4,000 a month.
Right.
So it's astronomical. We have a film clip we're going to roll now, and we'll be back in just a second to take more of your questions and phone calls. So stay tuned.
Right on.
Tune in. Turn on.
Drop out.
Take over.
Yes, Portland, Oregon, which this month became home to the state's first marijuana cafe. The Cannabis Cafe is the first of its kind outside the state of California.
Now,
Although it doesn't sell marijuana on the premises, it allows any of Portland's estimated 21,000 licensed medical marijuana users a space to consume marijuana in a social setting. The Cannabis Cafe's debut comes a month after the Obama administration said it would stop pursuing cases against medical marijuana patients. Reversing the Bush administration's stance, Attorney General Eric Holder said it will not be a priority to use federal resources to prosecute patients with serious illnesses or their caregivers who are complying with state laws on medical marijuana. 14 states have adopted laws allowing the medical use of marijuana. I'm joined here in Portland by Madeline Martinez. She's executive director of the Oregon chapter of NORML, the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, which also runs the Cannabis Cafe. Welcome to Democracy Now!
Thank you, Amy.
It's great to have you with us. Explain exactly what this Cannabis Cafe is.
This Cannabis Cafe is a place where we can gather together and be social. We are all social creatures, and one of the problems is that it always is that we have to medicate out of public view. So we needed a place that was just that, out of public view, where only cardholders could enter. So we established that. For years I heard from people who were up at the big hospitals, OHSU, as well as the VA hospital, and they didn't have a place after procedures for hours. They were left in the cold, in the rain, in Oregon, looking for a place to be social, for someone to understand their plight. Either they found out they had cancer or some other horrible medical issue to deal with, and they had to travel home for hours alone and desperate and needing some medicine after being away from the medicine for so long. And so this, after hearing this for years and years, it prompted me to establish a place of our own. We had been having bi-monthly meetings actually with in the same sort of setting, but we took it to a regular basis because so many people come from all over the state, 200 at a time, to line up to get one cutting and some excess medicine. Per our law, we cannot exchange for consideration. So this is all given away, donated to me, and then donated to patients.
So when they come into the Cannabis Cafe, they are not buying the marijuana?
No. Oh, no. That would be illegal in the state of Oregon. We're in California.
That would be illegal.
In the state of Oregon, yes. And you must be out of public view. And as you saw last night, it is out of public view. You have to come up the back stairs. You were lucky you came in the front door, which we reserve for handicapped people in chairs and walkers. But they come up the back stairs. They must show a piece of state ID, or a passport is also acceptable. But you also have to have your Oregon Medical Marijuana Program registry identification card with you, or stamped paperwork, date stamped by the Department of Human Services that actually registers our program.
How did you organize, lobby for the Cannabis Cafe?
Well, I've done 10 years of work with the program. I've been there since the very beginning and helped implement it. And what I found was that if you lay the groundwork and you establish your credibility to be above question, we've never had anyone leave our building, our meetings, and complain that they're in consideration. If anyone comes in and tells me one of our members exchanged for consideration or asked for consideration, I speak to them privately, and they are asked to leave, and their membership is revoked, and they can't return to our meeting. We insist that patients cannot be taken advantage of. Many of these patients are desperate, and people go out and say, give me $300, I will grow for you. And they never see the money or the person again. And it's really sad because they're left to their own devices. When you get your card from the state of Oregon, you're not given a clue. That's not their charge. It's out of their purview. So they don't tell you where to get a plant, where to get medicine. So you're left to your own resources, which generally includes the black market. My view is let's capture the revenue from the black market and let's pay for health care in our state. We know that people aren't growing hops in the forest because alcohol is no longer, illegal, but they're growing marijuana. And I think we should take back that power that we've given to the criminal market and establish it. Let's tax and regulate. 357,000 Oregonians consume cannabis by government statistics, ONDCP. And it's really a tragedy that money is being just squandered. We have 2 state troopers on the I-5 corridor here in the state of Oregon. I'd like to pay for more. I'd like to have a safe state. And it's really sad that our legislators don't look beyond what they're doing. They keep continuing the same process and expecting a different outcome. And that's a definition of insanity.
What's the response in Portland to the opening of the Cannabis
Cafe?
Cafe?
It's been really positive. We have many of our patrons are actually neighbors in the Northeast Portland area. And they've come and they said, we're really happy that you're here instead of a bar. Because so often, unfortunately, people consume too much alcohol and they urinate on someone's lawn, or they're misbehaving, or they just get rowdy. And it's a big improvement. We're done by 10 o'clock. We close the doors. We're quiet. We keep to ourselves. We don't bother anybody. We're actually planning a volunteer trip down Deacom to clean up the street.
Deacom is the street.
Yep, it's 700 Northeast Deacom Street. It's right there, and that's also where Oregon Normal has their twice-a-month meetings, which coincidentally are it's on the 2nd and the 4th Saturday each month. That's right. At 11:30. The doors close at 11:30, so you want to be sure to be there between 11 and 11:30. And it's at 700 Northeast Deacom Street. Now downstairs is where the Cannabis Cafe is, and upstairs in the Village Ballroom is where Oregon Normal has that meeting where they give away cuttings and medicine. So again, that's only open to patients, and you have to join Oregon Normal for an annual fee, but then you can go to all their meetings without additional charge, I believe. Of course, that's for their expenses.
Just personal point. I highly recommend it. If you're social at all, you'll get an opportunity to rub shoulders with other people who feel the same way you do about the need for medicine and the need for access, and
there's some pretty good stuff there.
We are very politically active. We're constantly sending out letters to our legislators and our president and the Congress and voicing our opinion. It's a very strong opportunity for us to do it as a group. We are basically the strongest, the biggest group of normal in the galaxy, and we're glad to be there. We intend to keep growing and keep voicing our opinion on matters that are important to us as a group.
I understand we have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Very well. Welcome.
Thanks. I'm a chronic pain patient here in Oregon. I've been a card holder for a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
And I recently quit smoking. I got a digital volcano, and I was curious if you guys knew what the best temperature setting for that was. For
I like it at about 360 to 365, right in that range. Once it gets over about 380, benzene starts to vaporize, and that's an irritant, and it'll make you cough. So I like to see it at about 360, or we often leave it at 362. That's just, I've seen some people use it at 3 or 375, but I definitely wouldn't recommend going above that. Cool. And that's about 180 degrees centigrade. If you push both the up and down buttons at the same time, it'll go back and forth between Fahrenheit and centigrade.
Excellent. Thanks. I've been watching you guys for a while, and I really appreciate what you guys are doing. It's awesome. Keep up the good work.
Thank you very
appreciate
much.
that. You know, we're just launching our new Oregon Cannabis Tax Act petition.
That's right.
There was a challenge in the Supreme Court, so we have to wait for the Supreme Court to adjudicate the ballot title wording.
Oh, okay.
And so the petition drive would have started last week, but because the some guy, we don't know exactly who it is, some guy named Bradley Bonneau. Hi, Bradley.
Thanks,
Bradley. Thanks a lot, Bradley.
Well,
But
we want to get it right.
We shall overcome.
We want to get it right, and we want to make sure there's no challenges. So
Right. Well,
now's the time to
he
do it.
challenged it. He'd already written a letter that the AG had pretty much included in the ballot title, but it was weird. The letter he sent was very amateurish when he first filed a letter to, you know, reserve a right to make a challenge later on.
Yeah.
But boy, his legal suit was very professional and obviously done by.
He got help.
Yeah. I don't know exactly who it was
He
out
got
there.
help.
You know, we haven't investigated it fully. Some of us think it was Kevin Mannix, who had been working against medical marijuana.
Well, we'll see.
But some young guy, Bradley Bonneau. So, if you know Bradley
So there's a
Bonneau,
challenge now, and
there's
the
a challenge.
process is to go to the Supreme Court. How
Yeah,
long
the
does that
Supreme
process
Court,
take?
you know, it varies. I mean, it's very
Okay.
quickest. It's about 4 weeks, and sometimes
okay.
much as 8 or 9.
So we may have to wait a little bit before we can even discover
But
whether
you know,
we're
we're
going
working with this company. We've
Right.
hired Democracy Resources, which has never failed to place an initiative on the ballot, and they're very have a strong belief that they can do it in less than 2 months, and that
I
they
think
have
they can
more
too.
than enough time to put this thing on the ballot. It won't be a problem.
Yeah.
And so they're also working on the fundraising campaign, and we've hired C&E Systems to handle the finances, and they handle finances for a lot of different political groups and the Democratic Party of Oregon, among others. And then Attorney Paul Loney is our treasurer. So we think we
excellent.
have a pretty strong team with
You
Democracy Resources handling petition drive and fundraising, C&E Systems taking care of all the financial reporting, and Paul Loney, one of our favorite attorneys out there, as
well
the
as some
treasurer.
major activists who are wanting to help us raise money.
That's
like John
true. Like
Trudell
John
and others.
Trudell
His
is
band.
coming here
Yes.
in late April to do a series of 6 concerts across the state to build up interest and funding for our petition drive. So we're pretty excited about that as well.
Totally.
And then he says in the summer we're going to have a major concert. He's bringing some of his best friends, and I know that he's very close friends with Jackson Brown and Bonnie Raitt. I got to meet Jackson Brown last summer, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. We haven't got any guarantees yet.
John has appeared to be a man of his word.
Yeah.
He
definitely
has
is that.
come, He has appeared at every opportunity we've asked him to be there, and I've been very happy, beyond happy with the type of music that John presents. His spoken word, his message is on target. It's so scary. It's so on target. It's right on the money.
Well, he's a poet, and he's published a lot of poetry and does spoken word poetry. In fact, you can find out more about him by going out there and looking at JohnTrudell.com. JohnTrudell.com. I know a documentary about his life won the Sundance Film Festival's Best Documentary Award back in 2008. So we won't go into that again right now. Until we have him back on the show, then we'll talk to him about it.
That's right.
Anyway, if you are out there and you have a question for us tonight, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. 4448. We have about 15 minutes or so left.
You know, there are some events coming up I'd like to talk about for a few minutes. I know on the first weekend in May, the first Saturday in May, Oregon NORML always has an event down in Pioneer Square in downtown Portland, and it is the Million Marijuana March. I know it's been renamed. I can't even remember
the Global
name.
Marijuana March.
Thank
now.
you. That's
the
what it is.
Global Marijuana March.
We start early in the morning, around 10 o'clock. There'll be, if you want to know more about it, you can go to NORML's website. But I know we've always had booths down there. This year we have the Pioneer Square for the entire day. And that's a great thing. We usually just used to have it for the march and then have to go away. But now we've got it for the whole day. And we can go down there and represent. Now, there's no smoking in the square of any kind, cigarettes or anything else. So if you go there, understand that you're going to give your voice, not to do a political protest by smoking in the square, because regardless, that's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah.
But
it's about, well, last year I would say there were 700 people or so.
Last year the police said about 750.
About a mile walk around
downtown
Portland, escorted by the police, and it's a lot of fun. And,
it is. And if you can't walk,
got a lot of supporters.
We've got a bus that will take people around as well. So
that's true.
You can
I hopped
still
on the
be
bus
there.
for the last third of it
There
when my
you go.
knees were injured
last
year myself. But it's a really good event.
It is,
and
a
it's
good
in
event.
conjuction with 200 other cities across the
Exactly.
world.
Exactly.
Not just here in the United States, but across Europe and Africa.
So if you're listening in, say, Denver, perhaps,
Yeah,
or
there's one in
Detroit,
Denver.
or Boston, or all those other cities that we're out in Seattle as well, and Spokane, I'm sure that you also have local activists who are involved in the
there
fight
are these
there who are going to be
global
doing this on
marijuana
that day.
marches. It's generally the first Saturday of the month of May.
Right.
So we'll have more information about that as it comes closer. We have another caller, though. Hello, caller. You're on our show.
Hi, thanks for what you guys are doing.
You're welcome.
And I just had a couple of questions. First, I live over in the Southeast area, and I was wondering about the new location that came in on 26th and Division. And I also had a question about the legality of cannabis in Alaska, because I heard that it's kind of like the last frontier. There's different laws there than in the rest of the states.
That's true.
And I also had a question about the laws that were up for something. They were either up for a vote or they were getting signatures to get it to be on the ballot for legalizing at least industrial hemp in North Dakota.
Uh-huh.
So if you could answer those, that would be great. Thanks for what you guys are doing.
You're welcome.
Thanks. Thanks for your call and your questions. Okay.
North Dakota.
North Dakota, they lost.
Okay.
They came up for a vote, and unfortunately it lost. The legislature, though, passed an industrial hemp bill, and the DEA won't allow it to go into effect. Republican lawmaker Chuck Munson, a Republican and Speaker of the House in North Dakota, is a farmer, and he managed to get it through the North Dakota legislature, and then he challenged it in court, and the DEA won, and he can't get a license to legally grow it as long as the DEA won't issue a license. Then in terms of current laws, we have a petition that we're pushing to end adult marijuana prohibition and restore industrial hemp. It's the Oregon Cannabis Tax Act. It would allow anyone to grow their own marijuana, and it would set up commissions in Oregon to promote industrial hemp. It would fund those commissions through sales to adults of marijuana under state licensed stores. And so you can find out more about that by going to cannabistaxact.org, or this one will redirect you there, OCTA2010.org. It's OCTA2010.org. What was the first part of his question?
Alaska.
Alaska, yeah. And Alaska passed in 1975. The Supreme Court ruled in a case called Raven versus the state of Alaska that the right to privacy, explicitly written into the Alaska Constitution, protected marijuana users in the privacy of their home so that adults over 21 could grow 4 marijuana plants and have a quarter pound of marijuana. Now, in 1989, under President Bush I, the drug czar and William Bennett went there, and they got a vote, and it was defeated. So marijuana became technically illegal again from '89 until about the year 2001, when the courts threw out the new law. And so marijuana, simple possession, is legal in the state of Alaska. And medical marijuana is also legal in Alaska. So, you know, it's the wide open wilderness out there for most Alaskans. And so most of them, if they want, can grow cannabis. And there are several very famous varieties, specifically in the Matanuska Valley.
Yes, there
that are well known in the cannabis consumer world.
And favorites of mine, I would say.
Yep, those are some pretty good ones.
Yes, they are.
So I hope that answered all your questions.
Now, how many states does that make now?
We have 14 states now that they added New Jersey, even though New Jersey has a very restrictive law, much like New Mexico's, in that only a doctor with a specialty can sign for a particular condition. So, for instance, if you've got glaucoma, you've got to have an ophthalmologist sign your recommendation. If you have chronic pain, you've got to have a neurologist sign your recommendation, and have 2 doctors sign it, actually. And for chronic pain, the doctors have to certify that they've tried every other alternative, and none of them have worked for you except marijuana now. So
that sounds unreasonable, doesn't it?
It's a very big burden to impose. So the law in New Mexico and in New Jersey are very restrictive for the patients. They're very difficult as well in the state of Nevada and Hawaii, in that they're very cumbersome. In Nevada, the patient has to first pay a $50 fee for the application, then get things notarized, have their fingerprints taken, see a doctor, turn all that paperwork in with another $150 to the state. Then they mail them a letter back that they have to take to the DMV and pay $12 more to have their medical marijuana card printed in the state of Nevada.
At the DMV?
At the DMV, right. And then
so automatically you've lost several levels of hiding.
Yeah, privacy.
There's no
medical
privacy at all anymore.
Yeah, it's a pretty complicated process there. Anyway, Hawaii is much more intense for the doctor.
Exactly.
The Narcotics Enforcement Division are the ones who issue the permits in Hawaii, and they send them only to a doctor's office with a note on top, on a piece of red paper with big letters that covers the whole page that says, "Do not allow your patients to leave your office with this document." In other places, except Nevada, you can get them online. In Nevada, you can buy it for $50, but there you have, the doctor has to keep it, and the caregiver and patient have to go into the doctor, and the doctor has to collect copies of their ID, and the doctor has to turn it into the state, and the doctor has to pay a state fee, and they mail the card back to the doctor, and the doctor has to sign it, and then the patient gets it.
Why are we wasting so many people's efforts and time?
Well, that's why we have our Oregon Cannabis Tax Act.
Exactly.
We'll just allow anybody to grow their own.
It's such a simple solution.
You won't have to go through, I think it's sad. I help a lot of patients get their cards, and they're incredibly grateful.
Right.
But I think it's very sad that these people with chronic pain and these horrible conditions have to come in every year.
I know.
Their conditions aren't going away.
I had to renew mine just in the last month, too.
So every day. Your asthma is not going away.
No.
And so our driver's licenses are good for several years, but still coming in and going through that process certainly beats being busted by the police and dragged into the criminal justice system.
Yes, it does.
So we have our petition to end adult marijuana prohibition. We urge you to go to our website and get involved and help us do that. We have another caller. Hello, caller. Welcome to our show.
Thank you. Hi, Paul. Hi, Tim.
Good evening.
It's always a pleasure to get to watch your show.
Thank you.
I have a question about where to find the apparatus that you make the capsules for pain.
Well, we have recipes that are available in our offices that we'll be happy to give you on how to do that. And there are capsule kits that you can get at vitamin stores and health food stores. We recommend this nifty, cheap one that's only like $10 called Cap 'em Quick. And it'll make 50 capsules at a pop. And you get these 00 size capsules. That's the dosage size that we recommend. And so you can make them out of leaf, which won't get you high, but will give you a good dose of CBD. CBD is the medicine for pain, spasms, seizures, glaucoma, neurodegenerative diseases, and gastrointestinal ailments. So it's the one that's most widely medically useful. And so, or you can make them out of the flowers or the buds, and those might get you high, and they'll still provide all those same benefits of CBD along with THC. Since the CBD is found throughout the plant, you can make foods and extracts from the leaf that won't cause the psychoactive effect.
Right. My husband's a medical marijuana patient, and I have to help him along with a lot of things.
Yeah. So those Cap 'em Quick kits are out there, and they're pretty inexpensive. And like I said, we do have those recipes at our office if you want to swing by and pick some up.
And it works great for chronic pain.
We came through the THC Foundation.
Oh, well, look in your handbook. It should be like a
we've got the
10-page
recipes
handbook
and
at the
everything. I
back
just
of it.
cannot find the apparatus.
Yeah, it's the Cap 'em Quick. You can get them. I know they have a website, and it's listed in small letters at the bottom of one of those recipes. And sometimes we have them in our office on occasion. We buy them in bulk and sell those capsule kits at times in our office too. I'm not sure if they're not always in stock though.
I have looked around. I'm pretty far outside of Portland.
I see.
And so it's not.
Do you have the internet?
Yes.
Yeah, just look up Cap 'em Quick. I think there's some hyphens in there. Cap 'em Quick.
Okay.
And that'll come right up, I think, and they'll mail them to you really quick.
And another question: is tincture, is it alcohol based?
It can be. It can be alcohol based or glycerin based. You can also make oil extracts. The alcohol based ones, if you use high alcohol extract, then it's going to have a burn associated with it, where the glycerin based tinctures have kind of a sweet honey flavor, so that doesn't burn at all. So.
Well, my question about that was my husband's a recovering alcoholic, and someone gave him some tincture, and you're supposed to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah. So I would recommend the glycerin or the capsules, or putting it into a butter or oil extract and cooking with that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate your answers.
You bet.
You're welcome. Glad we could help.
All right. Thank you. Have a good evening.
I prefer the glycerin myself because the
alcohol
it
tastes a lot better.
Well, you usually use an Everclear or very strong alcohol.
It burns.
It just burns me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's no fun.
It's not like a good sipping whiskey. It's straight.
Yeah, it can be pretty strong. That's for sure.
That's exactly.
So we're down to just a few minutes left. I'm not sure whether we'll be able to get another phone call. We probably will.
Yeah, we'll see.
But I just want to remind our viewers out there about a couple of things. First off, if you or a loved one need a doctor, we have doctors all over the United States who can help you get a medical marijuana permit. So give us a call at 1-800-723-0188. That toll-free number is good anywhere in the good old U.S. of A. It's 1-800-723-0188. If you're here in the Portland area, you can call us at 503-235-4606. Yes, we do have another caller. Hi, caller. Welcome to our show.
Nope, we lost him.
We lost the caller. Well, then last but not least, again, we'll just harp on it, a petition to end adult marijuana prohibition. Right now in California, they've already qualified their initiative, the Tax Cannabis 2010 initiative, for a vote. So the state of California is going to vote this year for sure on ending adult marijuana prohibition, and it would allow patients to have a limited personal use garden with no license. I think the limit would be a 25 square foot garden, so you'd be limited to like a 5x5 personal use garden. Under our proposal, the Cannabis Tax Act, we don't really put any plant or space limits on a personal use garden. We also say that breeders, people who breed new strains of cannabis, don't need to, because they need to grow lots of different seeds. They don't need a license. You only need a license under our proposal in Oregon if you're going to sell the flowers or the buds, and then you have to sell it through the state regulated system. It would also set up industrial hemp and some committees to promote hemp biodiesel, hemp fiber for paper and building materials, and hemp food. So we need your help on that. Please take a look at our website, octa2010.org, or cannabistaxact.org. There's that website right there. So I want to thank you all for watching. We're about ready to wrap up another show. Mr. Tim Pate is ready to play guitar, and you can look at some lovely bud shots from the THCF Medicinal Garden. You know, I think this is show 525.
Wow.
Show 525. So time marches onward. And we appreciate you watching. We are working to end adult marijuana prohibition, restore industrial hemp, and help medical marijuana patients. No more lies. It's time to legalize and restore hemp. So tune in next week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Tim Pate. See you next week, folks.